Most people go through their entire lives viewing money as a mysterious, elusive force that only visits the lucky, the ruthless, or the highly inherited. They look at the wealthy with a strange mixture of envy and resentment, convinced that there is a secret conspiracy keeping ordinary citizens locked in a perpetual cycle of financial survival. In his brilliant and highly practical philosophy, Richard Templar completely dismantles this victim mentality. He asserts that becoming wealthy is not a matter of luck, genetics, or corporate corruption. Instead, it is the predictable byproduct of adopting a highly disciplined set of behaviors, mental attitudes, and everyday habits. Wealth is a game that anyone can play, provided they take the time to learn the psychological rules that the truly affluent understand instinctively from day one. The absolute starting point of this financial transformation has nothing to do with opening a bank account or launching a startup. It begins entirely inside the quiet landscape of your own mind. Templar argues that the majority of people are held back by deeply ingrained, subconscious beliefs about money that they inherited during their childhoods. They grew up hearing that money is the root of all evil, that rich people are inherently dishonest, or that wanting a lot of wealth is a sign of shallow greed. These toxic mental scripts act as a psychological handbrake. Every time an ordinary person starts to make financial progress, their subconscious mind panics and sabotages their success because they do not want to become the evil, greedy person their parents warned them about. To break this generational curse, you must actively reprogram your definition of money, realizing that currency is a completely neutral, beautiful tool that amplifies who you already are. Money is not evil, it is simply concentrated freedom. It is the ability to buy back your time, protect your family from crises, support causes you believe in, and live life entirely on your own terms. Furthermore, you must thoroughly purge any trace of jealousy toward those who have already achieved financial success. When you look at a millionaire and resent their luxury car or their beautiful home, you are sending a powerful signal to your subconscious that wealth is a negative thing that causes social isolation. True wealth creators do not waste their psychological energy on bitterness or gossip. Instead, they study successful people with intense curiosity, looking at their achievements as clear, undeniable proof of what is humanly possible. You must also establish a deeply personal, crystal clear definition of what being wealthy means to you. For some, it might mean having millions sitting in a high-yield investment portfolio. For others, it might simply mean earning enough passive income to retire early and paint landscapes in the countryside. If you do not define your destination, you will wander aimlessly through the consumer marketplace, spending your hard-earned cash on meaningless objects just to impress strangers you do not even like. Wealthy thinking means shifting your gaze away from superficial social status and locking your focus onto absolute, unshakable personal autonomy. Once you have completely synchronized your mindset with the reality of abundance, you must transition directly into the theater of physical action. Richard Templar stresses that there is a massive structural difference between earning a high income and accumulating actual wealth. Millions of high-earning professionals, such as elite surgeons, corporate lawyers, and corporate executives, live in a state of quiet financial desperation. They bring home massive paychecks every month, but because they immediately spend that capital on high-end luxury goods, oversized mansions, and private country club memberships, their net worth is effectively zero. They are trapped on an intense consumer treadmill, working longer and harder just to fund a lifestyle that collapses the moment they stop trading their limited time for a salary. To build an unshakable fortune, you must master the fundamental rule of wealth creation, which is to always pay yourself first. The vast majority of people receive their salary, pay their landlord, pay their utility bills, buy their groceries, go out for dinner, and then desperately hope that there will be a few dollars left over at the end of the month to put into savings. This strategy is an absolute recipe for permanent mediocrity. Wealthy individuals do the exact opposite. The moment their income arrives, they immediately slice off a predetermined percentage, whether it is 10, 20, or 50%, and channel that capital straight into an untouchable investment fund. They force themselves to live comfortably on the remaining balance, adapting their daily expenses to match their true financial boundaries. This disciplined approach requires you to take absolute, microscopic control of your cash flow. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Templar encourages you to track every single penny that exits your wallet, questioning every purchase with ruthless intellectual honesty. You must learn to distinguish between a genuine survival need and a passing consumer want. This does not mean you have to live like a miserable monk or deny yourself all the pleasures of life. It simply means you refuse to let your hard-earned money leak out through lazy habits and unconscious spending. By taking control of your expenses, you stop bleeding capital and build a powerful financial fortress that allows you to capitalize on lucrative opportunities when they naturally arise in the marketplace. Simultaneously, you must focus on expanding your earning capacity by aggressively monetizing your unique skills and talents. You will never become truly wealthy if you rely solely on a single, traditional corporate salary. You must find creative ways to diversify your income streams, turning your hobbies, expertise, or specialized knowledge into profitable side ventures. Whether you write an informational book, launch an online education platform, invest in local real estate, or buy shares in growing companies, your ultimate goal is to build automated income streams that work for you while you sleep. True wealth creators stop trading their limited hours for paper currency. They design systems, acquire assets, and invest capital so that their money becomes a highly productive employee that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, generating freedom year after year. Earning $1 million is an incredible achievement, but keeping that $1 million requires an entirely different set of behavioral rules and a massive dose of character discipline. The financial world is littered with tragic stories of professional athletes, lottery winners, and rock stars who accumulated staggering fortunes almost overnight, only to declare absolute bankruptcy a few short years later. Richard Templar observes that the primary enemy of sustained wealth is a psychological trap known as lifestyle inflation. As an ordinary person's income begins to grow, their desires naturally expand to match it. They buy a bigger house, upgrade to a luxury sports car, dine at more expensive restaurants, and suddenly, the massive surplus that should have been fueling their investments vanishes into high-maintenance costs. To protect your wealth over the long haul, you must maintain a profound sense of personal humility and financial boundaries, regardless of how large your bank balance becomes. The truly wealthy people next door do not feel an insecure need to flash their money to gain the validation of their peers. They understand that real wealth is invisible. It is the money that remains unspent, sitting quietly in stocks, bonds, and real estate, quietly compounding and generating peace of mind. When you see someone driving a brand new supercar and wearing a diamond-encrusted watch, you are not looking at a definitive sign of wealth, you are looking at a definitive sign of high spending. True financial security belongs to the individuals who can comfortably afford a luxury lifestyle, but choose to live far below their actual means because they value their freedom infinitely more than material display. This long-term sustainability requires you to establish rigid boundaries around your capital and learn the difficult art of saying a firm, unyielding no. As your financial success becomes visible to the world, you will inevitably be approached by well-meaning friends, distant relatives, and smooth-talking brokers pitching the next can't-miss investment scheme or begging for personal financial loans. If you act purely out of emotional guilt or naive optimism, you will quickly bleed your fortune dry. You must treat your accumulated capital as a sacred trust that requires strict professional management. You must do your own thorough due diligence, understand every asset you buy, and refuse to invest in complex financial products that you cannot explain to a child in simple terms. Furthermore, you must build a bulletproof layer of protection around your assets to insulate yourself from unpredictable economic downturns or legal liabilities. This means diversifying your investments across different asset classes and geographic markets so that a sudden crash in one sector cannot wipe out your entire life's work. It means keeping a healthy reserve of liquid cash to handle emergencies without being forced to sell your investments at a massive loss during a market panic. It means hiring the best tax professionals and legal advisors to ensure your wealth is structured safely and ethically under the law. Staying wealthy is not about hitting speculative home runs on the stock market. It is about playing a highly disciplined, patient game of defense, ensuring that the financial fortress you built with your sweat and tears remains standing for generations to come. The final and most profound stage of the financial journey has absolutely nothing to do with accumulation, asset protection, or personal luxury. It centers entirely on the art of strategic generosity and circulation. Richard Templar elevates his philosophy by arguing that money behaves exactly like a river. If you dam it up out of a place of deep fear and try to hoard every single penny for yourself, the water becomes stagnant, toxic, and devoid of true life. But when you allow your wealth to flow out into the world to solve problems, lift up communities, and create opportunities for others, you transform your money from a dry mathematical metric into a highly potent force for global good. True wealth is not measured by the size of the estate you leave behind. It is defined by the depth of the positive impact you make while you are still alive. However, sharing your wealth wisely requires just as much intellectual rigor and strategy as earning it. Many well-intentioned millionaires fall into the trap of toxic philanthropy, throwing massive amounts of cash at problems without analyzing the long-term systemic consequences. If you simply hand out unearned money to adult children or capable individuals, you often destroy their internal drive, paralyze their self-reliance, and trap them in a cycle of permanent dependence. True financial generosity means investing in human potential rather than funding comfortable entitlement. It means building educational systems, funding research, creating sustainable jobs, or providing mentorship that empowers people to stand on their own 2 feet and become wealth creators in their own right. This rule applies directly to how you handle your own family and legacy. Templar warns against the immense danger of spoiling your children with effortless luxury and sheltering them from the natural economic struggles that are required to build a strong character. The greatest gift you can pass down to the next generation is not a massive trust fund that allows them to live an idle, aimless existence. The greatest gift is a bulletproof financial education, an unshakable work ethic, and a clear understanding of the rules of wealth. Many visionary millionaires intentionally structure their wills so that their children receive enough capital to do whatever they want in terms of education and career, but not enough to do absolutely nothing for the rest of their lives. Ultimately, the true science of wealth is a journey of profound self-mastery that transforms you from a stressed seeker of survival into a calm dispenser of universal life. When you master these rules, you realize that having millions of dollars in the bank is merely a pleasant side effect of becoming an exceptionally disciplined, focused, and valuable human being. You stop checking your bank balance to validate your self-worth because you possess an unshakable inner confidence that cannot be altered by economic recessions or market panics. You walk through the world with a light heart, enjoying your comforts with deep gratitude, protecting your autonomy with fierce discipline, and using your abundance to leave the world a far richer, more beautiful place than it was on the day you arrived.